Dharan, the distinction that's being made is when you're providing free food, let's say, for example, during COVID time for people, poor people who don't have a means of employment, that cannot be a freebie. That is a welfare measure. Whereas when the DMK government promises free color TVs and other parties there, try to outmatch by promising free wet grinder and free laptops and smartphones, that is a freebie. You are basically giving this to people who are not deserving, and surely this is not a welfare measure that will enable that person to go ahead and either make a livelihood or better the livelihood of that person. How does free color TV, free wet grinder, free laptop and smartphone make anybody's life or the quality of that person's life better?
The main question is, who decides what is a good freebie and what is a bad freebie? Does the Election Commission of India have the intellectual capacity to decide on it? I don't think so. To decide what is a good freebie or a bad freebie, you need to have range of experts, PhDs from an economist to an anthropologist to a sociologist and whatnot. For example, when DMK announced color TV, people said it was a bad freebie. In fact, the term freebie is meaningless and it's a misnomer, but they said it's a bad freebie. I'll give the term and use the term. But research from Brown University professors who have nothing to do with Tamil Nadu or India, anthropologists and sociologists, who was published by the Oxford University Press, say women got empowered. In fact, when the scheme was launched, our former Chief Minister Kalaniar also said this scheme is to empower women. They said after color TVs were announced and after 3-4 years after evaluation, it was found that more women, children in rural areas were in school. They were less perceptive to beatings by the husband, and there were preference for woman child in rural areas increased. That's because they were able to see how people in urban areas lived. And this is not just, the research just did not focus Tamil Nadu, it also focused certain countries in South America and also Kenya. So this is absolutely wrong. And again, I'll tell you, Tamil Nadu has low inflation. Food inflation in Tamil Nadu is 4% compared to an all India inflation about 8%. Gujarat has 12%. That is because of universal periods we have. Remember, in 97, when DMK was in power, Union government wrote about 4 to 5 letters saying Tamil Nadu should shift to targeted intervention. But our leader, Kalaniar, said no, we will have universal periods. This universal periods has been helping Tamil Nadu to have low inflation. For example, vegetable inflation in Tamil Nadu is 2.1% compared to 27% in Gujarat. Again, I'll tell you, if you think freebies are the reason for the state's exchequer getting spoiled, that's not the reason. In 2011, when DMK demitted office, we were a revenue surplus state by 2,500. Our loan in terms of percentage of GDP was about 17%. Best finance management. But the same finances under AADMK, under Edapadi Palaniswamy, the revenue deficit worsened and the revenue deficit became minus 60,000 crores. It is not because he spent on welfare schemes. It's because the revenue which the state should get, right, that reduced. During our time, the states used to get about 12% revenue from the GDP. But during AADMK time, it reduced 9% simply because of mismanagement and lack of ability in administration and rent seeking, right?
Let me quote from the SBI report, and a lot of people have cited this as the basis for why there is suddenly an attack on this Revdi culture. And Sanjay Jha, let me get you in. The SBI report, it's got... One second. Let me get the others also in, please. Thank you. The SBI's India Research report, it's called EcoRap, says that India must free itself of freebies. It goes on to say that we expect a Supreme Court panel to fix a band, say 1% of state GDP or 1% of state-owned tax collections or 1% of state revenue expenditure for welfare schemes. With this, the desired welfare schemes can be implemented, and the remaining, the parties need to explain where they are funding from. I mean, like I said, it is no one's case that PDS should be withdrawn. That everybody in their right mind agrees that yes, PDS is a necessity, it is a welfare scheme. Whether it is, health insurance for poor folks. Again, nobody in their right mind is calling that a freebie. But when you promise free color TVs and free electricity to everyone, to the general population, then there is a problem because it is sending your state finances into a tizzy.
Zaka, I do believe that this debate needs a resolution because, it has to go beyond the rhetoric. But I'll give you 2 points that are very relevant in our conversation. Number one, you're talking about a country that doesn't have a social security apparatus, no networks. There is no real welfare model that we have. And unlike the Western democracies, and you're talking about a country with 350 million people living below the poverty line, which is less than $2 a day, and where 1% of Indians have 65% of wealth. So you got both poverty and inequality. It's a double whammy, number one. Point number two, a perfect example of how politicians don't understand economics is what Prime Minister Modi said in Parliament in 2014 when he mocked Manrega and said this is the Congress's and the UPA's most disastrous, monumental underperformance, signal. And look at what Manrega has done, especially during the pandemic. It is considered, by the way, to be one of the best social security employment schemes in the world, at least the biggest one for sure. Now, the challenge, Zaka, is this, and I think this is where we need to have probably a meaningful conversation here, is who pays for these? Now, I agree with everybody on the panel that political parties, when they make these manifestos, making these preposterous promises, they are indeed fooling the people of the country. And I do hope the Election Commission comes up with an audit so that these political parties are actually shamed in public for actually fooling the public from whom they get the votes.
No, who pays for it? Who pays for it is very clear. I mean, it's only the taxpayers who pay for it, and that's about what, 6%, 7% of the population of this country. But Nalin Mehta, the problem is.
Just give me 30 seconds. Just give me 30 seconds.
Okay, quickly, Sanjay. I got Nalin as well as Professor Sardana waiting. Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. So, two very quick points. In India, we celebrate the rise in GST collections, not recognizing it's a regressive tax. Even the poor are paying the government through buying goods and services. The second point, no political party in this country, including many eminent panelists, will tell you publicly that do we have the courage to increase taxes, especially on the high net worth individuals and even corporate taxes on those who are possibly in areas that demand to be taxed at a higher level. If you don't have higher direct taxes, this country will always have this debate.
Okay.
But if you pay for it, there is
Nalin Mehta, the issue again comes down to, who can pay and who cannot pay. Clearly, all of the government's finances are being taxed by taxpayer money, which is a very, very small pool of people. Like I said, not more than 6 or 7% of the population. Now, it comes down to, are you going to give a particular thing, a particular item, let's say in this case, free power, to everyone in that particular state? For example, in Delhi, let's talk about Delhi. Why should all 1 crore people of Delhi or 1.5 crore people of Delhi get free power when maybe there's 30 lakh of them, maybe there's 50 lakh of them who can very well afford to pay for that power? That is the distinction between a freebie and a welfare scheme. No one has a problem with great government school education. After all, those who go there are the ones who absolutely need government school education. So no one has a problem with that. But when you say free power to the entire population up to whatever X number of units, that means that whether you're living in Sainik farms or whether you're living in a Jhuggi Jhopadi, both of you get the same treatment from the state. That's the issue.